So you're basically admitting that you guys are a problem, and it's so noticeable that you're not getting picked for the postseason, and your argument is that because you've been here so long, it shouldn't matter how bad you are, you should still get the postseason.
What is going on, everyone? It is Justin from This Just In Sports, and we are going to be talking about the NFL owners meeting, which just concluded here today. It's one of those times the NFL owners get together, make rule changes, things like that, and this year was no different. A few rule changes like dynamic kickoff alignment are going to be tweaked, allowing onside kicks at any time in the game instead of just when they're trailing, and a one-year contingency giving the New York officiating command center more power to correct clear and obvious mistakes, especially useful if they use replacement referees. They're going to use replacement referees. But there's one thing that really struck my ear at this meeting: the consistent push for an 18-game schedule. And we're going to be talking a lot about this in this video here today. But as always got to ask if you leave that like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It really does help me out. But let's get right into the video. Right at the center of the NFL owners meeting this week, a couple owners made headlines by suggesting progressing towards an 18-game season. That is Irsay-Gordon, the current owner of the Indianapolis Colts, and Robert Kraft, the current owner of the New England Patriots. Irsay-Gordon made comments that it could mean more revenue and a better product as long as the players supposedly want it. When have the players ever said that they want an 18-game season? I'm sorry, when has this ever happened? I always see them pushing for less, which makes sense. Football is a physical game. What player in their right mind is going, yeah, let's throw another game in there where I can tear my ACL and ruin my entire career here? Yeah, great idea. Who's clamoring for that? Nobody. Robert Kraft had a couple ideas that kind of made sense. Reducing a preseason game, so going from 3 to 2. I like that. That makes a lot of sense. Add a second bye week into the season. Again, on board. Makes complete sense. I like the idea. And every single team will play one international game. That's where you lost me, Robert. The other two suggestions that he made makes a lot of sense. Makes the game safer. You can make the argument why it should be in effect, if not currently, in the future if you do implement an 18-game schedule. Making every team play an international game is the dumbest part about this entire situation. Look, I understand if you want to play 2 to 3 out of the country, couple teams, couple locations, like doing London every year, that's fine. Jaguars can do that. It's a shorter flight rather than going to some place like Australia. Makes sense. London, totally on board. If you want to do Germany, again, bit longer of a flight, but you can justify it by adding that second bye. Totally. It's when you get into these games like Australia, if you go to Japan at any point, when is the line going to be drawn, and when are you going to implement this, quote, player safety that you've been advocating for years, ever since the movie Concussion came out? I'm not naive enough to, not understand that you're trying to make money, you're trying to grow the league. It's all great, totally on board, Robert. But what I need from NFL ownership is at least some form of consistency. Again, the crying about player safety, wanting to make it safe, wanting to do everything that's good for the players because this is a physical game, is all thrown out the window when you make suggestions like this. Playing these international games is not good for players. Some of them have to stay in hotels for a week in countries that they're not familiar with cuisine they're not familiar with, cultures they're not familiar with. Some places they go, they can't even drink the water. So when are we going to put the players' well-being in front? We are already seeing the league ramp up to 9 international games this coming season. Like I mentioned, the one in Australia, that's literally going to make the season start on a Wednesday, so the Rams can play on Thursday to get back in time to play by next Sunday. Not to mention Paris, London again. They're going all over the place, and it's getting ridiculous at this point. Adding that second bye should be automatic right now. Players should get a bye in the season as well as after an international game. To adjust, it only makes sense. Let's not even begin with Thursday night games. I understand as a business prospect why you would have Thursday night games, but they also announced that the Friday night games are not going to count as a short week around Christmas time. So that means teams are allowed 2 Thursday games, and now Fridays are not going to be considered a short week. It's one day, and yet you're going to say, oh no, it's not short enough just to cram in more games at Christmas and Black Friday. These are great times to have football games if they line up naturally, but you are not the NBA at this point. It is not your tradition to play on Christmas. It is your tradition to play on Thanksgiving. But let's go back to Robert Kraft's idea here. What I think needs to happen is the NFL needs to take a page out of European soccer's playbook. Their international series is their preseason. And I think this is what the NFL should do entirely. Take 2 divisions. Let's just say, the NFC North and the AFC East, they go to London. The AFC South and the NFC West, they go to Japan. 2 of them go to Australia. 2 of them go to Germany, whatever. And you play 2 preseason games out there outside of your division. So the AFC South wouldn't play itself. They'd play whoever they're paired up with. And then basically the other two teams that don't play in the games, you do joint practice with. So that way you get a different opponent, you get the warm-ups, you get the reps, while growing the game in a preseason session where people can watch the games, they can watch the practices. There's a lot more downtime where they can meet the players, engage, everything like that. Not to mention if fans make connections with certain players on that bubble of possibly getting cut, but they make it, they could end up becoming lifelong fans of the NFL and watching this person's career blossom. It's a way to do it where you can still have the international game sprinkled in, but your main focus in the offseason can be growing the game in the markets that it's not supposed to be in. Sorry, that's a bit of a rant. I'm just, I'm sick of hearing about player safety and then it's never at the forefront for these players at any given time. Again, they are playing this game for our entertainment. I appreciate them. I love watching football every Sunday, but at the same time, they're putting their bodies on the line every single week. And once in a while, it would be nice, I think, to at least take into consideration that player safety. But it just constantly feels like a slap in the face from the NFL owners that constantly do things to fan bases that make them want to laser tattoos out themselves.
What do you think? What do you think is going through my head right now?
Trust me, brother. I'm myself biased, but I'm from so trust me, it kind of hurt home when saw this a couple hours ago. But yeah, man, I'm just
a couple hours ago, a couple weeks ago. I know you're not trying to sell me tickets. I know that's not the case here, right? I've actually had season tickets my whole life, but now you couldn't pay me to go to a game. I mean, it's not you nor me. It's the Miami Dolphins organization. It's nothing I want to be a part of.
I'll say, like, just as a fan myself, I think we actually are going in the right way. Forget, job aside, I think probably the best rebuild that we're going to have. I mean, it's obviously up to see it, play out.
Yeah, man, you could take my number off. You could throw it off a cliff. I don't want to be a part of the Dolphins anymore. I'm actually working on getting my tattoo removed.
I'm sorry, they're taking a dead cap hit that 8 years ago was the entire salary cap of the NFL. Literally 60% of their cap is dead cap this season. And you're expecting fans to turn out to buy jerseys, buy tickets, buy overpriced concessions, except Arthur Blank because you're like the Costco CEO of the NFL. Good for you. But outside of that, none of this is ever passed on to the fans. None of this is ever discounted for the fans. It's always going back to the pockets of the owners. And I keep hearing suggestions that the NFL needs to do what Major League Soccer has done and basically use the quarterback contract as essentially an international designated player like David Beckham was, where that money doesn't count towards their cap. I think that's a smart idea because these quarterback contracts are getting out of control and making the Dolphins make these decisions with Tua to hopefully get a quarterback next year. Let's be honest with ourselves. They're already out of playoff contention already. We know what a tank job looks like. 2027 is supposed to have a great QB draft apparently. So yeah, we all know what they're doing. Let's not be stupid here. But the greed is not only happening on the NFL ownership side, it's also happening on the NFL referee front. If you haven't heard, the collective bargaining agreement ended yesterday with the NFL and the NFL Referees Association. Let's just say the refs were asking for some ridiculous demands. What were they demanding? Roughly a 10% overall compensation increase. That's more of a percentage than the players got. How much is the NFL paying their referees, mind you? The average was about $350,000 for part-time work. Part-time. The NFL offered them 6.45 to 6.7% over 6 years. That's pretty healthy if you ask me, especially when you look at the officiating over the last few years. You look at games getting called rigged, situations being called in favor of certain teams and not others. And yes, Chiefs fans, before you blow up my comments, we're talking about you. You get favorable calls, just own it, accept it. There's nothing you can do about it. You're a fan, you're not on the field, but at least live in reality with the rest of us. We are having to watch this as fans and basically torture ourselves every Sunday by bad calls, and it's ridiculous. If we are going to be paying these referees $350,000 on average, they should be making better calls, because not only is the fact that this is part-time, but a lot of them, not all of them, there are some of them that are like high school custodians and things like that. That does happen. But most of them are like lawyers, business owners, things like that, to the point where this is a side hustle for $350,000 a year. That's a gift, man. That's an absolute gift. What are you talking about? Shit, I'll take half, call it a day. And the league is asking for very simple things like extended off-season training for poor performances. I feel like that's a reasonable request. The referees counter, however, they want a seniority-based system for the postseason rather than a performance-based system for the postseason.
So you're basically admitting that you guys are a problem, and it's so noticeable that you're not getting picked for the postseason, and your argument is that because you've been here so long, it shouldn't matter how bad you are, you should still get the postseason.
Jesus Christ, holy shit. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? What do you think you deserve by being a terrible referee? You don't think that you have any accountability? You're making me side with the owners and say they're not being unreasonable at this point? Like, come on, everyone. I get the art of negotiation. I get coming to the table with higher and lower demands. I totally understand that. But let's also live in reality, refs. Like, yeah, we all remember 2012. Well, most of us remember 2012.
Touchdown, the other said no time.
Those replacement refs were god-awful, which is why they're instilling the skybox, basically having way more control than it should. And that's what's going to happen. The NFL referees are going to basically put themselves out of a job by showing that you don't need all the training that they've had in the past. They can get it with skybox and video. Look at what ABS is doing for baseball. Look at what happens in balls and strikes now. It literally takes a few seconds, like, yep, that's the right call, there we go. You could do that every play in the NFL and no one would know any different. You don't need these referees anymore. Now, I'm not advocating to get referees. I like the human aspect of it, but we just have to understand where technology is going. It's going that direction. I understand at the end of the day, it's a business. The refs need to get their cut. The players need to get their cut. The owners need to get their cut. 100%. Everyone needs to get paid. Everyone needs to get their cut. They contributed to what the league is, what the brand is, and why it is the highest grossing league in the world. In the world, out of every other sports league, it is number one. But the real question is when does that get passed on to the fan? Again, Arthur Blank is a great example. Doing the concessions the way he does, as cheap as he does, literally says, okay, look, we make a lot of money, let's pass that off to the fans. It's a gesture, a small one, but it's still a gesture. I want to see it go to jerseys, hats. There is no reason that an NFL jersey should cost close to $150. None. Absolutely none. That's insanity. Especially with the amount of third jerseys they're starting to do, rivalry jerseys. They need to start passing those kind of savings on the merchandise to the fans, especially when they keep using places like Fanatics that, no offense Fanatics, not the greatest quality. It's not great. But the issue is nobody wants to give. The players want to make as much money as possible because they only do this a short amount of time. Completely fair. Not going to argue that. The refs need to make their money, 100%. But again, this is a side hustle. And that's just it. If you want to be a full-time ref asking for more money and you're going to be in the lab every offseason watching tape, doing simulations, going to off-season workouts, everything like that to get better, yeah, pay them the money, $500,000, 100%. Great, 100, I'm on board. But you're asking for a raise when the product may have been the worst it's been over the last few years when it comes to officiating. There's no reliability in the officiating anymore. There's no referee that you look at and go, oh yeah, they're usually good. They don't exist. They're slowly replacing you. It's inevitable that one day humans will not be doing this anymore. I just think it's crazy that we are in a situation where the most profitable sporting league in the world is coming down to a situation where we could be going to replacement refs and possibly a strike in the future, because replacement refs aren't good for anybody. But the league is going to look at situations like ABS and say, hey, look, we can transition to something like this and actually save a lot of money every year. So it's a tightrope they got to walk. I do think an 18-game season is coming. I think it's inevitable. It's all about the money, and that's going to be big money for the NFL. It's just a matter of what it's going to mean for the players. These guys are putting their bodies on the line to the point where guys are retiring early because they don't want to ruin their body for the rest of their lives. Now you want to add a game onto that. It's just, when is enough going to be enough for the NFL? But that's just what I think, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It really does help me grow here. I also started a second channel called This Just In Cards, where I'm going to be doing sports card rips just because I've been watching a lot of it and I really want to get into the hobby. So follow my journey there, where I'm basically going to give away every double I get that I don't need. So, follow me on X, and if you want one of those cards, message me and we can work something out there. So go ahead and follow me there. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel. Until the next one, have a good one.